All right, the sky did not fall, which is kind of interesting. This is a very different feeling this week with the Penn State football team than it was last week after the loss to Temple, which is very good, by the way. Temple's a good team. But do you just get
the sky didn't fall?
Yeah. Do you get the sense, though, after beating Buffalo, which is not a good team, that everybody's kind of calmed down a good bit?
Well, the pendulum of emotions swings real wide in football once a week. Temple looks like a decent team. They went out to Cincinnati and won. You know, I think the way that game unfolded I would hope, would have more to do with it than the fact that it was Temple. You know, because I'm thinking people are overreacting. You beat a team since 1940, but I mean Temple was sort of an Eastern game for them. They played them almost every year. They won by a point 3 or 4 times in a row, and then when you lose to them, all of a sudden they are so unworthy that you can't even move on. I think it was the way that game unfolded.
Well, we just finished James Franklin's press conference, and it was all about football today. There were a lot of really good, interesting football nuggets, both sides of the ball, the Rutgers rivalry or not. So a lot of, again, just back to football. Last week was about so many other things other than football. Today was about football. What struck you that Franklin said today?
You know, I didn't think I think it was interesting, but I don't think there was a real ton of, say, news. You know, I think the fact that they have Rutgers at night in the first conference game, that's what they're sort of zeroed in on. And, you know, he's becoming a little bit more forthcoming with injuries. You know, he said that it's a possibility that Bell might play. He didn't rule out Nelson. And whether any of that will happen, I don't know. But I think they're going to need, particularly Bell.
All right. The news about Rutgers is interesting. They've had about 7, I think, current or former football players arrested. So this program comes into here with a lot of issues. And James Franklin was asked a very good question by Joe Giuliano from the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I thought Franklin gave really an exquisite answer with regards to how does a football coach oversee 125 young men, and they get in trouble sometimes. What's the responsibility of the coach and the program? And I thought he really went in depth into, he didn't mention Rutgers specifically or anything, Neil, but obviously in college football, when a player gets into trouble, it's going to be much more magnified than anyone else.
Yeah, and I think that's where you see James Franklin at his best. Behind the microphone, explaining, very thoughtful answer, and, you know, and he also sees, you know, if there's a way that they can give a kid when you can give a kid a second chance. And the balance of having 120 males that you're supervising, and in some case being a second dad. And I think that he showed what a good representative he is in that answer. And, you know, it's tough. There you are, you're Rutgers, and this kid, I don't know what some of the circumstances, but when you have so many problems, all of a sudden a kid gets eliminated for something that might have been previous transgressions, or you feel like you have to get rid of a kid because you're under so much pressure yourself.
All right, I'm going to pick my score first because what people are thinking about with this Rutgers team is they're going to come in here all disheveled, coaches under fire, players. My theory on it is once 8 o'clock rolls around on Saturday and kickoff, the players are going to be focusing on the game. So I think that's going to be a storyline this week about how Rutgers has all these problems. But Penn State's got a lot of problems still, too. And when the game starts, the players on both sides are going to be focused on the game. The line's 10.
Rutgers' problems are off the field.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
The line's 10. I'm going to go 23-14 Penn State. I'm going to pick them just under. I think Rutgers can cover. Penn State's offense, I think, still is going to have a lot of issues. But I'll go 23-14
Yeah,
Penn
you're
State.
on at least a one-game roll, right?
Yeah, right.
Line. Yeah, I picked it actually 24-12. You know, the template with Franklin so far has not necessarily been, the Pinstripe Bowl was an exception where they scored 30, but they generally don't. So I'm counting on the defense. One thing that was brought up today is how Rutgers last year played a lot of man defense and really forced Penn State to beat them in the pass, and they did a couple times. It was enough to win 13-10, but that's what Temple did. So we'll see how well Penn State's line holds up this week.
We've got the Mirror's Mike Boydum on our video. Mike, what's your score for the game?
I think I have Penn State winning 31-24.
Good game.
Shootout, Mike.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks to Mike for filming and for Neil Riddell. I'm Corey Geiger.